Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders Without podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is in your beautiful part of the world. Today, I have a great guest again. My new good friend Kim from North Carolina. We had a very fun conversation about a week ago. We got connected to one of our common friends, a phenomenal lady, Wendy Corner from Australia. She's amazing. She's a firecracker. Let's put it that way. She's amazing, and she connected me to her, and the rest is history. So we had a chat last time, and I learned a bit about her, and there's a lot we can cover and unpack today. One of them being that she back in the day she lived in East Germany. She was trying to just looking for a new experience outside of the U.S. She did that. She studied in East Germany right after the fall of the Berlin Wall. So that was a great time to be in Europe. I was too young at the time, growing up in the south of France. I had no idea what was going on, but still, I knew that there was something in the air that was different. You know, even as an 8, 9 year old boy, you know that something is different. But yes, so yeah, and while she was there, she had a major stroke as a result of a blood clot. And when she came back to the US, she was given a ton of medicines, and of course, that never goes well. And then she had, through all of this experience, again, everything. One of the lessons I learned through life is that everything happens for a reason, to teach us a lesson. And the lesson that she learned from that was that allowed her to have an awakening. And of course, we're gonna unpack that in this call. And I told her last time that, hey, Kim, we need to please do me a favor and block at least 2 hours next time, because there's so much we can unpack. But we'll see how much of that we can explore today. And I wouldn't be surprised, even my as I call it, my trusted advisor, my pinky, is telling me that this might be a 2 or 3 parter, but so my trusted advisor so far has been pretty on the money, so I trust them. So we'll see. But anyways, and through life, she's done a lot of great things. She opened her own wellness center. She has a deep passion for helping people, especially midlife people, understand the lifestyle and make the best of that, best of the choices. And yeah, and one thing about her that really, caught my attention, that really can resonate with, is the abundant minimalist lifestyle. That's something that always, have been like that as well myself. And of course, sometimes you plan things in life, but life has a different, path for you. She had planned to go to Japan, and then that got canceled because of the craziness of the past couple of years. And but that doesn't mean it's been canceled for good. That's just postponed. So Japan is waiting for you. So, and I'm sure, and I love Japan. So yeah. And then of course, she's very successful in her businesses and all that. She built a network marketing company around Neutrogenics. And the one thing about her, if you can summarize all of that she does and she is into one neat tagline, a couple of them actually would be: one, she loves helping people to listen to their bodies to build a life they love, and living life to the fullest and live a life they love. So there's a lot more I can say about her, but I think I'll shut up and I'll let her come in and say that, because she's the star of the show. I'm the host. So Kim, my friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that wonderful introduction and the opportunity to be able to jam back and forth with you a little bit in this space, and for all the listeners who are listening today. So yeah, let's have some fun and really get down.
You're welcome. Pleasure's all mine. I don't know if you recall last time we chatted, I told you that the type of conversations I like to have on my podcast is to, so to speak, have a look under the hood to see what's in your heart, to have a heart-to-heart conversation, hence the name Leaders with a Heart. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. So for people who don't know you, who is Kim as a person? We're going to talk about your business in a bit later, but as a person, as a human being, who is Kim?
Yeah, I'm a person who really understands how fragile life is. Having had my life very abruptly shaken up at the age of 18 with, having a pharmaceutical disrupt my brain and, not knowing what was going on. So I think I was blessed with the opportunity to be able to really understand how fragile life is. And it was a beautiful gift that was given to me. So I think that is one of the cornerstones to who I am. I'm also somebody who's very simple. I love, if somebody were to say to you, tell me about your hobbies, tell me I'm really boring. I love walking outside and looking at the shadows on the ground, right?
Ooh.
I love being able to smell amazingly cooked aromatic food.
Oh yes.
I love being able to watch a kitten play so I'm a very simple sensory person. I do not need a lot of um, extreme input into my world because the simple things are really, really juicy.
Is absolutely agree. Is this where the abundant minimalist comes into life?
Say that it is part of what sets the
Mm.
stage for that value. People will say, what do you need in this world? And I'm like, I need a credit card and my love, who
And
is
your
my husband,
passport.
and my passport, right? um, Abundant minimalism really comes from a place of understanding that experiences are
Mhm.
just so enjoyable and juicy. And also, so experiences versus things, but also, my husband and I got rid of everything. And when I say we got rid of everything, we sold our brick and mortar business, we sold our family home, we we dispersed almost all of our belongings, and we ended up with two carry-on suitcases apiece
That's amazing.
for our belongings. And in that process of doing that, in order to go live in Japan with our son, uh, all the photographs, even, photographs digitally taken care of, like all the books on Audible now, like all the things, it
Exactly. Kindle.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, it just really opened up this expansive state of freedom. And I would say another cornerstone to that is just creating the financial flexibility. So it doesn't matter if you have something today, you can have it if you want to tomorrow. And so relieving the emotional attachment or the hoarding mindset. I might need that in the future. Well, if you need it in the future, buy it.
Yeah.
You don't need it today. So I would say that that seems to be something that we connected around. I know that you
Oh
yourself
yes.
really value experiences, travel,
Freedom.
relationships, freedom, all of those things, right?
Oh
So
yes.
is that why the concept of, when I threw out the idea of, yeah, I'm an abundant minimalist, you were like, that
That's me.
that is you too.
You were able to perfectly synthesize how I've been living my life, but without actually finding the right words. In just two words, just summarize it in a beautiful, eloquent way. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. Words have power. So now we have
Absolutely.
an identity.
Yeah, it's beautiful because especially nowadays when we're not, physically tied to a location, you can build your laptop just like I've been, I got a taste of this lifestyle back in 2007. A book changed my life. I was about to send my application to law school back in 2007, 2008. And one day during lunch, I was working the government job back then. Went to a food court. There was a bookstore, and that book just called my name. Come here, and that was the 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And long story short, I spent the next 2 days calling in sick, and I devoured this book, and I forgot about the law school application, and instead started my first business that took me around the world. And that showed me that, hey, your laptop literally is your office, and your phone is literally your secretary. And that was, I mean, once I had a taste of that, there's absolutely no turning back. I became officially, completely, irrevocably unemployable, so
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, no,
I hear
freedom is
you.
absolutely addictive, especially that kind of freedom, especially for someone that is so, for whom, traveling is the essence, one of the essence of living. I mean, that's like
Mm.
the highest of high that even cocaine would not even give you. Even though, mind you, I've never tried cocaine, I don't think I'll ever do it, but just something similar, just as a.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
travel, I feel it is an altered state experience. I think that when we're going through the day-to-day activities we've all done it, right? You get into the car, you drive to work, and then you get to work and you're like, how did I get here? There's that sense of mind numbing experience that can occur through the routine. It's a biological thing, right? Like our
Yeah.
nervous system, once it wires a habit, it wants to be able to use that habitual path. You grab the door with your right hand and it not your left hand without even thinking. Like there's all these things. And I feel like for me, travel is an existential experience because suddenly your nervous system has no routine to grab onto and it is awake. It is looking, it is just the senses are open from thoughts and sights and sounds and having to process. And so for me, travel, although it is an outward experience, it is, all kinds of really cool things you get to experience. It's for me, it's also an inward
Totally.
experience where the brain wakes up, and I love to capture it through photography. I love just waking up and being able to be in this really great altered brain experience and then do my best to capture the magic that I can feel and see and sense. And I'm not a photographer and I don't take photographs very often routinely. But when I'm traveling, there's just, it's like in The Wizard of Oz, when it goes from black and white to Technicolor, the brain experience of traveling is what I absolutely adore.
Yeah. It is for me the two greatest schools of life have been sports and traveling, because traveling, it becomes, you learn so much about the world, but most importantly, you learn about yourself. When you find yourself in a place that you don't know anyone, you don't speak the language, and some place you can't even read what's going on. That's what happened to me when I landed in China. Absolutely, completely. You're surrounded by billions of people, but yet you cannot communicate with anyone. You feel like you're back. I've never felt so isolated in my life than being like in the middle of a sea of at least a million people around me. But that's when you grow, you become a different person. I have some great stories about that, but that's not about me. It's about you. But
Although I do want
yes.
to hear them.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing. The first one I got was first night, arrived in Hangzhou, close to Shanghai, the city of Marco Polo. Dropped the bags at the hotel, and I was there with. I had a job offer in China as a football coach, soccer coach, professional soccer coach. I went there. I was there with an Italian colleague of mine, and we both arrived. Of course, none of us speaks Chinese, and we didn't even have time to go get a SIM card, so no way to communicate. So we just roamed around downtown to find a restaurant. We went, and of course, can't communicate. The menus are all in Chinese. So what do we do? So my friend had a brilliant idea. So he wanted to have some lobsters. So how do you communicate that to someone that doesn't speak your language? So he just did the greatest thing. He just grabbed a pen on a napkin. I swear to you, he just started drawing it. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm not a drawer. So I said, okay, I don't want to embarrass myself. And so what I did, I wanted some chicken. And I just did the good old saying, puck, 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 puck. Everybody around me was laughing at it. And for the side dishes, I didn't know what to do. So I just did it. The next best thing, I just stood up, went around the tables and I just pointed, tick, 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 tick. What do you want?
Yep.
You gotta eat,
Yep.
That was fun. So yeah. So no, absolutely. Traveling really, awakens the, one thing that is very powerful is the inner child inside of us, because the inner child inside of us is what keeps us alive. That's what keeps the fire going. I was reading a book on spirituality. It said at the spiritual level, what is the definition of love? Love is creativity. And for you to be in a creative state, you need to be in a playful mode. And that's one of the most important things that we all need to remember, even when you're 95, 250 years old, whatever. Always, whatever you do whatever you can to keep that inner child in you alive, because the moment you suppress and silence the inner child, that's when you've internally died, because that internal child is what's keeping you going. And when you're in that environment, the inner child takes over. You want to draw, you want to make a fool out of yourself, puck, 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 whatever. You make people laugh around you, but it's a good fashion. So our travel has been incredible.
And on that same note, I think that for somebody who may not routinely be in touch with that aspect of themselves, yes, being in a foreign country allows for you to kind of balk like a chicken and things like that. But what other point in our life is our brain just really working hard in order to create an orientation in the world as a child? Like everything is new, everything is fresh. It's tiring. Our little babies, they sleep so much because what's happening is their brain is having to kind of create all of these programs and in order to be be in the world as an integrated human being. And when you take yourself out of your norm and you plunk yourself in the middle of something brand new, that biological aspect of ourselves is reawakened. And in fact, you may have felt it yourself. Like at the end of the day, gosh, I'm really more tired than I thought that I normally am, because the brain is, I remember being in Germany, in East Germany, and TV had already come in. I was there like a number of months after the wall fell. And MTV was the only English speaking thing that was
Wow.
there. And I remember I didn't listen to it often because I wanted to just be immersed in everything. But I remember one specific day, just my brain being toast. And I just sat there, I turned on MTV, and it was like, ah, like a moment of just already defined words, already defined things, already having the identification, and the other opportunities. It's work, it's hard work for the brain to be able to create these new pathways and programming itself. But isn't that what we tell old people to do? We tell them to do things like Sudoku, right?
Yeah.
Why? Well, I mean, I don't
Right.
know, a lot bigger. This is a big Sudoku, plunking yourself into a foreign
Yeah.
country and having to reorientate yourself. I mean, I remember there was one time we were in Japan, the very first time we went to Japan. And yeah, I'm an American girl, but I've traveled around the world quite significantly. But as a female, I can't speak for men. Not maybe some men feel this way as well, but as a female, there is a particular programming that I go into in order to make sure I've identified what's dangerous to avoid it.
And we,
Right.
as a man, we do it because you have to do it.
Yep. And so I was in Japan and I was realizing that I wasn't finding it. I was literally disorientated from experiencing what would be dangerous. I couldn't identify anything. So I looked at my son who had traveled through Japan before, and I was like, babe, can you bring me some place that would be like the dangerous place? Like,
Bring
I
me
need
to
to,
the Yakuzas.
yeah, I was like, bring me to, the red light district, the Yakuza section. Like,
Oh,
I need to understand what this is, because I'm feeling like my brain is like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And I mean, you're in Tokyo, and like no bicycles are locked up, like everything
yeah.
seems really safe, but where is the hidden danger? So he brought me to this section, and there were men dressed in suits outside of
Ooh.
these red light district
Was it missing
buildings, and
pinky finger?
they were bowing down,
All
saying, "Oh,
right.
so sorry that you're here." They were so like safe. And I remember sitting there so utterly confused, but my brain was able to finally orientate itself to the fact that I just was not in danger. And it was it
Uh-huh.
was it was disorientating, but it was a good feeling to
Absolutely.
have.
Yeah, absolutely. No, travel. We can do an entire episode just on traveling, because traveling is fascinating, and just like something that really makes travel even more incredible is that it's a great adventure in the greatest sense. The little things that we take for granted on a daily basis, like for example, going to the store, getting a coffee or whatever, we do it almost like on autopilot mode here and back home. But back, especially in places that you don't speak the language, you can't even read, like in China, for example, even that little action that is completely insignificant, you do it without even thinking. Even going to a coffee shop or going to a restaurant, that becomes it awakens, it puts you at 110% of your capacities to be really vigilant, and not because of any danger, because how the hell I'm going to convey my message.
Mhm.
And thank God for the apps on the phone, like translated, because that was my best friend. Without this, I would have not survived in China. Other places it's a lot easier, but because at least you can read they use the same West alphabets, but in China, or in, for example, in Asia and other
Yep.
places like Korea and places, no,
Mhm.
good luck.
Mhm. Yep.
It's amazing. We're gonna talk about that in a moment. Wow, that was wonderful. Awesome. Let's move on, because we can do an entire episode on traveling alone. It's been a big part of my life and your life as well. So we'll get into that. Maybe that's going to be part of part 3 or part 4, even part 7, whatever. So we'll see. So now let's move on. I'm going to ask you now a series of rapid fire questions to further know you as a person. Ready?
How can you say you're really ready for the unknown? Yes, I'm ready.
Oh, wow. I like that. Now, what makes you happy as a person?
What makes me happy as a person is being with my husband.
Mm,
He's like homeopathy for my soul.
wow. That's
Being
beautiful.
with my son, it's like he's just this amazing blessing to be able to witness as he grows into the human being he's becoming. So I would say that just being with them, sitting by the river, watching ripples on the river. We were sitting by the Kamu River in Kyoto
Oh, yeah.
on a hot day, the wind, the breeze coming through, knowing that knowing that we're going to go have a nice dinner together and just being
Yeah.
in silence. That makes me really happy.
Awesome. Now, what makes you smile?
Mm. What makes me smile is seeing sunlight coming through the
Mm,
window
oh,
shades and
yes.
casting its beautiful decoration on the dining room table, the wood of the dining room table.
Absolutely.
I'm
Now,
boring.
no, no, no. Hey, the greatest thing or the smallest thing. That's what it is. I'm the same. So now let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches even higher. So Kim,
Okay.
tell us, what sets your soul on fire? What brings your heart alive? What makes you your entire being sing and like makes you alive like nothing else?
When I can see the light in somebody's eyes that they have been emancipated from a limiting belief.
That's a good one. I agree
Mhm.
because then you see it's almost like you liberated that person. This you like they've been released from the chains within their mind that
Mhm.
were pushing him down or killing him down. Absolutely. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
It makes me, well, those would be two different things, really.
Yes.
What would make me sad would be seeing somebody disconnected from their highest self.
Hmm.
What makes me angry are the oppressive, hypnotic programs that are separating people from their highest selves.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what scares you
Oh,
other than spiders?
yeah. Actually, little known fact, when I went to college, one of the things that I studied was insects. So
Ooh,
spiders, although spiders not necessarily a bug or an insect. So what scares me? What scares me? What scares me? Being locked down.
oh yes, that's a big one for myself as well, for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it scared me enough to free me from all my things.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree. Now, what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
My husband would tell you napping because I can nap on the dime, like 12-hour flights, just like that.
That is a skill indeed. I wish I had that
So,
because at
yeah.
night I struggle like turn and toss for at least an hour or two
Mm-hmm.
before I fall asleep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So he would tell you that's my superpower. I would say if I had to identify a superpower for myself, it's patience.
Patience indeed is what is the saying? Patience is gold, something along those lines.
Mm,
No,
patience
silence
is
is
a
gold, but
virtue.
patience is no. There's a
A
saying in
virtue.
French. I don't think it translates correctly in English. In French, we say patience. No, silence is gold, but patience is diamond, something like that.
Ooh.
So it doesn't. I don't know if it translates correctly in English, but yeah. Anyways, that I totally agree with you. Now let's move forward. You love traveling, right? Just a little bit.
Mhm.
All right. Now let me. What was the very first trip you took?
The very first trip that I can remember was probably like we lived in St. Catharines, Ontario, actually,
Oh
for a
wow.
while. And my father worked at the shipyard in that area. and that we moved back to Maine. So that's the first road trip I can remember, is moving back to Maine. I think that I would identify that the first trip that I took was like a solo trip on my own, was going to East Germany because I was 17 at the time. And actually, I landed in West Germany first, where I was doing my language camp in Hanover. And they said, hey, there's an opening for 14 students to be able to go to East Germany. They've just opened it up. Who's game? And my hand went right up. I was like, oh, another adventure. So, and that was actually the day that we were going to East Germany from West Germany, hopping on the trains. And, the train sounds differently in West Germany than it does in East Germany, because the train tracks are a different cadence. And then you're in the East German side when the cadence shifts. That was the same day that Gorbachev went missing.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I vividly remember the details of that day. My mom, of course, was relatively fearful, saying, Gorbachev just went missing and you're going to Eastern Germany? Wait a minute. I don't know if I approve of this. And I was like,
have you lost your mind?
Here, Mom. Already here, Mom. This is what I'm doing.
Yep. Yeah, wow. I mean, that would be a fantastic topic for a book. I told you that last time.
I know you did, yeah.
And even a podcast just on, recounting and relating your traveling, adventures and all that. But wow, I was about to ask you what difference did you notice between living in St. Catherine, Ontario and in Maine? But I think that's boring in comparison to, because I want to know about what was life in East Germany.
At that time, anyways. Yes. Yeah. Because I'm sure, this is like 20 something years later, things have been way more integrated. At that time, the architecture was very different, right? Under the as the DDR,
yes,
Deutsche Democratic Republic, it was very Eastern Bloc architecture, high house apartment buildings
with communist blocks, I guess, communist.
That were the new ones. Much of what was old was just left untouched, right? So I loved it.
Oh, yes.
Because it was either something that was old was removed to create room for something new, or it was just ignored.
It wasn't like to fix it.
It wasn't like there was a lot of preservation. So what you were seeing was just in its rawness, which I really liked.
Sure.
I thought that was quite lovely. And of course, then there's the stereotypical things of like, a lot of the places didn't have telephones. Those were all being entered in. The Russian tanks were still hanging out there.
Did you see any tanks, any Russian influence when you were there?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But also, we had the East German cars, the Trabbies. The cars were very different. It was like you're in a little tin can with a loud voice.
What was it? Those Russian cars, Lada?
Yeah.
Did you have those?
Yep. And those were an upgrade to the Trabants, the East German Trabants. Okay. Yeah, the Trabbies. Yeah, the Trabbies were like 2 gears. And I would say the other thing that was different was I lived in a host family who my father was in and my mother were both in management at this plant. And they would come home for coffee after work, and we would sit there as a family and talk. And here I was, this Western insert in their life. And there was a lot of Western inserts that were suddenly being placed in their life.
They saw you guys as potential spies?
No, but I was an insert. I was from the outside placed in. It wasn't that it was a spy. The insert was really, there were a lot of philosophies that were being inserted that were not normal for them. Like an insert of my host parents had never fired anyone, ever. Wow. Right. And so suddenly they're coming home from coffee and talking about with a heavy heart, this cultural shift that was happening in their life, where they were suddenly confronted with having these hard conversations with people that they've never had before, or coming home, in the previous life, everybody would play volleyball after work, the janitor and the CEO, like everybody was just playing volleyball after work. Well, that doesn't happen anymore now that you don't know if you're firing the person the next day. So there was these real big cultural inserts that I don't necessarily were well understood prior to their desire to open the wall. I think, there's lots and lots of positives that, of course, were brought in, but I don't think what's always marketed is the positives. Those are highly marketed. The negatives are not necessarily highly marketed, but they come as a consequence of receiving these positives. And so that was a really interesting thing to experience as a young teenager, kind of looking at how the realities of transformation really were being absorbed on all levels by many of these people.
You spoke German back then?
I didn't until I landed there. Yeah.
Okay. How were the people? Were they open-minded and friendly towards foreigners, especially was the first time, or they were still a bit fearful and, just, stay away? You tolerated but not welcome kind of vibe, or?
Well, it really depends on what kind of foreigner you are. And, there's a very, very big like graffiti everywhere. Ausländer raus, foreigners out. There was a skinhead movement. I was actually shot in the head with an air gun because there was, we're walking through a playground, me and another American, and we were speaking a foreign language. And I don't know if I even identified that it was English. There was, at that time, there were a lot of people coming in from Turkey that were not being tolerated. Anyways, she said something. I'm an Aries. I was sassy back. I should not have been sassy back. I turned around and I got shot in the head with an air gun. So, there was definitely a reality of there being, skinhead influence, even at the discos. You go to the disco and you're like, oh, don't go to that one because somebody just got hit over the head with a bat at that one. But for the most part, the average person was not more than tolerant. They were inquisitive. They were welcome-hearted. Like, it was beautiful to be able to be in that space at that time. You just had to identify where the dangers were.
Sure, absolutely. And back then in Eastern Germany, were they also using the Deutschmark, or they had their own currency?
No, Deutschmark. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So and in fact, there was the East German Deutschmark and the West German Deutschmark. So all the East German became, what's the word I'm looking for? You could buy them at markets and stuff for tokens. Okay. It no longer had value, but the West German Deutschmark did.
So you noticed a big difference then with cost of things once you went from the West Germany to East Germany?
Not necessarily. I would say there was still a difference with access. Like, you go to the West German grocery stores and everything under the sun was available, and the East German grocery stores was still reminiscent of, there was more access, but it wasn't as abundantly accessible.
So I think nowadays the closest thing someone can get to is if they were to go from South Korea to North Korea, I guess.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know if I would compare that. I mean, Korea, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That would be another fascinating trip. Would you be game for that?
I'm always game to explore.
Once North Korea opens up and it's safe for foreigners, I would be one of the first to volunteer. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it would be, I think anytime you have the opportunity to see and experience a culture with your own eyes, with your own, it's the only time you're going to understand what it truly is. I'll give you an example. When I lived in East Germany, I was dating a boy, actually, now he's a man. I was dating a boy who was brought up in the sports schools. You hear about the Russian sports schools where they're taken away at 6 years old and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, he brought me on a trip. Once the wall fell, he was kicked out of the sports school. So he brought me on a trip to go see his sports school, and very beautiful stories. Like, he just loved his life there. He brought me through, it was all closed, but he brought me through, walked through where the school was and what his lifestyle was. And it was gorgeous. It was beautiful, beautiful flowers and trees. And so at some point, not that long after that, my parents, my biological parents, sent me a Newsweek article that included in it a write-up on this exact sports school.
Wow.
And so I had my personal experience, and then I saw what Newsweek portrayed. Black and white photographs with, a photograph through a window with bars looking at the crack on a wall. I mean, it was like, whoa, it was so not what I had experienced. Camp, Yeah, exactly. And it was really like in that moment that I realized that I would never believe anything that was portrayed in the news again.
Absolutely.
That I wanted to only experience things with my own senses, and that was really essential for me.
Fantastic. Listen, we can do an entire episode on travel because that's something that we're both passionate, but let's move forward. We might do an episode just on that. Now, so we talked about traveling. Now, let me take you into a different type of traveling down memory line. Go back to when you were a young girl growing up. When we're kids, people around us, family, teachers, relatives, they always ask us, so Kim, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer back then as a young girl?
Yeah, actually, the high school guidance counselor asked me, Kim, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember looking at him and saying, a Native American healer.
Beautiful.
Guess what? There was no college for that.
Yeah, of course.
So that's what I wanted to be. I always knew. I was 13 years old. My godmother is a practicing Wiccan. She, as for my 13th birthday, started me with my first herb garden. I always knew that my calling was in what we would consider integrative health or alternative health, but back then was just like, quackery. Yes. But so, yeah, that's what I answered. I answered him. I said, I want to be a Native American healer. And he said, you should go study anthropology. So it didn't take me one semester to realize that was not what I was actually supposed to do. But
so perfect segue. So when were you growing up, and what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or do you hate school?
No, I didn't like school. I tolerated it because it was, an essential industrialized thing. I was good at it. Like, if you're going to do something, you might as well be good at it. Sure. But overstimulating, going, bells, things, all very overstimulating and boring for the most part. My relationship was always being the voice for the underdog. Even I remember being in second grade and watching a second grade teacher demoralize this young boy. Oh, no. And my standing up and saying, I'm sorry, that doesn't feel appropriate. Like, I just remember knowing that there were a lot of things that were just wrong with the experience, but you didn't have an alternative, and you just didn't know. It's one of the reasons why I left for Germany. Was I heard on the intercom, hey, there's a free scholarship for you to be able to leave. All I heard was leave. I never had Germany on my bucket list. I never thought of being an exchange student. I was like, I'm in. So I walked down to the office, I plunked down, got my application out. One thing led to another, and I did win the scholarship. It needed to be tolerated. The only reason I went to college actually is because when I came back from Germany, the school system told me I couldn't actually graduate from high school, even though I just done my senior year in Germany, because I didn't do an English and a government. So I dropped out of high school. So I dropped out of high school. I was like, game off. I am
Yeah.
not doing this. But I went to college to go get the credits so that I could come back and graduate from high school.
Wow.
So my relationship to school, I would say, is a mixed bag. And honestly, the only reason I continued on with college is because I got way too drunk at a party, forgot to show up to my exam, got a failing grade in one of my courses. I was like, I'll be darned if I'm going to have a failing grade in one of my courses. And so went back to college.
Wow. That's funny. Now, what was your favorite subject in school?
Uh, I would say literature.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would say literature.
Okay. And what was the one subject you could not stand at all?
Oh, math.
Me too.
Oh,
Was it because of a teacher or just because numbers didn't make sense to you?
I'll tell you why. All right, my son, math genius. Like he, and I don't say that just as like a doting mom. He, as a freshman in high school, accomplished the SAT requirements for MIT. Like
Mm.
so he at one point, he was going through this crazy math class in this like wonderful school that does really excessive things for kids. And he came to me and he was like, Mom, I know you say you don't like math, but did you know math? What did he say? He said, math is math is the language that you unlock understanding the universe with.
Very true.
And I was like, whoa, if somebody had told me why we were sitting there
Back
doing
then,
all of these
yes.
things, I would have been so motivated. So
Yeah.
it was just, I didn't have a motivation for math because I didn't see the big picture. Like if literally, if somebody had said, you sit here and you do this, I would have been like, whoa, understand the universe, game on. Let's just get through all these things and give me more. I probably would have majored in it.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
nobody ever gave me the big picture. So it seemed pointless.
Yeah. I guess that goes to show you that, hey, yes, we definitely need to revamp the entire education system. Don't get me started on that because we can do an entire conference on that, you know?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's for another subject. But wow. Now, moving forward, what was your very first job?
I was a swim instructor for the
Nice.
YWCA.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And now let's move even further. From the moment you left school to now, let's talk about your path. How would you describe your path? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward, smooth sailing once you get into one lane? Or was it like turns and twists like a roller coaster?
I would say straight and turns and twists.
Mm,
Straight in that my mission has always remained the same. Twists and turns in that seasons expire
sure.
and new seasons open. And so my mission has always been to illuminate people to the understanding of how powerful their bodies really are.
Uh,
And what that looked like was sometimes I started out as a private practitioner in massage and polarity therapy. I became a teacher. Then I ran a school and I owned a wellness center and I'm a leader for a nutrigenomic company. And, it's all kinds of a health coach, all kinds of twists and turns. But the core has always been the same.
yes, makes sense. Now, there's a saying that I'm sure you heard of it that says, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean what we keep on telling ourselves on a daily basis. So when you came out to change your story at some point in your life, to either change your life or bring your life to where you want it to be, how did you do it? Did you do it to help friends, family, mentors, books, videos? Tell us a process you used to change your story, to change your life.
Actually, that's a daily basis practice.
Mm.
So I change my story, change my life every single day, and sometimes every single hour.
Whoa.
And why I am of the belief system through brain science. So it's more than just belief system, but I believe it. So it is also a belief system. 5% of the thoughts that we think every single day come from our conscious mind. 95% of our thoughts come from our unconscious mind. And the
Oh,
majority of those thoughts have been programmed from various times in our life, many of which before we were 7 years old, and none of which was consciously arranged to create a perfect vision of myself, my capabilities, my future. There was no God was speaking in my ear, and I'm not religious, so I say God from a big place, right?
mhm.
Although no matter how you say God, it's a big thing. So of course there was a universe, God speaking into my ear, but there was also media, there was also all these things. And so I identify that every single day, every single hour, every single minute is an opportunity for me to be aware of a limiting thought, idea, or belief, identify the belief that holds that default pattern in place, and then create a choice around, does that now serve me, or is it time for me to reprogram that? So every single day, I actually use some neuro tools in order, multiple times a day, in order to reprogram that subconscious patterning and allow for me to elevate myself in a clearer space of being to my highest blueprint. And so I see it as a moment to moment thing. Although, have I redefined myself in the gross place, in a gross matter place? Of course, I've redefined myself in a, even just in my identity of my work that I do. But I really see that the big work that I do is really, it's moment to moment.
Absolutely. No, you're right, because every moment we create every moment, every moment basically, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we create it what we tell ourselves the story. Oh, if that person did this to me, or if she didn't say this or did that. And these are the things we tell ourselves that can and will affect the way we feel, and as a result, the way what we create, what kind of state of mind we are, and that's going to determine, of course, our productivity and so on, or lack of thereof, and so on. And absolutely, that's something else, we all facing and struggling on a daily basis to change our story. And that's one of the most powerful lessons I learned. Just like you, I was never religious, but I always believed in God. And since I had my spiritual awakening since the start of the pandemic, and now I understand things much at a higher level. When something before happened to me, I used to, play the victim and ask why me? What did they do to deserve this? But now I take a step back, because I learned the tremendous powers of asking questions and asking the right question. So instead of asking why me, why did I do to deserve it, I ask, okay, what is this trying to teach me? What is the lesson for me to learn here? Because even in the most tragic of events, there is a lesson to learn from it. It's for a reason. So yeah, no, absolutely agree with you. Beautiful.
I agree
Now
with you.
let's move on, and that's a beautiful segue. Tell us about the beautiful impact you're having in the world. Tell us about your business.
Mm, yeah, thank you. Yeah, like I said, my mission at the cornerstone of everything that I do is helping people to really deeply understand the power that their body has, the
Mm,
capabilities that lie within them. And in my beginning of my career, back in like the late 1990s, we didn't have language
mm,
around epigenetics. And for those of you who don't still know what epigenetics is, it's the understanding that 95-ish% of our genes in our DNA are like light switches. They can be turned on and they can be turned off. Okay. So like I'm always going to have hazel eyes. That gene is not part of the 95% that can change. But many of our genes of that allow for us to thrive in optimum health, or genes that program us for dis-ease, right? Majority of them are like light switches, turned on, turned off. We want the ones for optimum health to be turned on, and we want the ones for disease to be turned off. Well, the concept of epigenetics is that we actually have control over those switches. Okay.
Yes.
And the place that we have that control in are really simple. Their lifestyle, right? Their lifestyle. So, as an example, when we exercise in certain ways, or when we've all heard of the characters who go sit in cold, frigid water, right?
There's a
Well,
Dutch guy, a Wim.
Wim Hof. Yep.
Yes,
So
is
Wim
incredible.
Hof, he's incredible. Why is he sitting in that cold water? Not because it feels good, but because it's flipping survival genes on. Okay. So my so back in the day, we didn't have language around epigenetics. We just had, hey, I know this kind of sounds crazy, but when you sit in the cold water, it elevates your blah, blah, blah. It allows for you to feel better. It reduces inflammation and blah, blah, blah. Longevity is promoted. We just had this like, we can't tell you why, but these things are actually happening. And so it was considered kooky, right? Or fringe. But now we have the understanding. We are empowered with validated language. And so I am the most excited I've ever been in my career to be able to speak about lifestyle. Specifically, my core passion is working with midlife women who are looking to have confidence in their body's ability to shift the paradigm of aging, right? So they can live their purpose with passion, feeling beautiful and confident. And it is so possible. It's simple, really. You just have to sidestep what a lot of the American standard diet and recommendations are. You sidestep it, and then suddenly, boom, you're able to trigger your genes on in such a way as your body is able to look and feel its best. So I love that. And I also love the science of Neutrogenomics, which is natural formulas that are specifically targeted to flip particular genes on. Like there's one formula that targets 400 survival genes. I think those are kind of important. So I love helping people to overcome obstacles of unawareness by providing education, and also simple tools that they can insert into their life so that they can look, feel, and perform their best, and being able to do it from an empowered place, of confident place of knowing that it's coming from within them. There's no guesswork, right? It's not like, should I be a vegan or should I be a carnivore? Because, both of them have valid science on why it is, why it's beneficial for you. But I love helping people understand that it's really, it's something inside you. And if you actively trigger the gene programs for your ability to thrive, then it happens. It's not a fad. It actually is built into our DNA. So that really lights me up.
Love that. Now that brought a question to my mind. I've been pondering for the past few weeks that, especially nowadays with all this awakening movement and all that, a lot of people are preaching, hey, you need to in order for you to ascend to the next level, you need to lighten your body and make your body more alkaline and become vegan, all that. But for me, I love my meat, so I'm trying to do other things on the side to awaken my soul and all that. But can you reach that level of ascendance and awakening while still enjoying your meat without going full vegan? Because I've seen people, my sisters, my brother-in-law, and my brother is an Italian. I know Italians, they love their meat, their prosciutto and their sausages and all that. It was not an easy sell for my sister to convince her husband to go from being a very proud Italian, Italians almost to a stereotypical type of way, to no cheese, no nothing, to become a full, a vegan. That's probably not a step I'm looking to take because, hey, I enjoy my food. I love my cheese, being French, my wine and my meat. I love the meat. So can I also achieve those benefits without going full vegan?
Oh, I love that question. Genius.
Thank you.
Well, I'm speaking to you now and providing an answer to you now from a place of not being self-identified. I am not enlightened yet. right?
I'm not
Like
either.
I have
That's what
not
I'm
ascended.
striving
So
for. Yeah.
so I'm speaking from that place. Here's my understanding of the concept of enlightenment. It is not achieved through living through shoulds. It is achieved through living an inwardly driven, authentic life, right? And I do not believe at all that being a vegan is going to 100% lead somebody down a path of being healthy. I do not believe that it will 100% not lead them down a path of being healthy. Likewise, I do not with being carnivore either, right? And then an omnivore, right? Yes, somebody in between. So it is, there's historical philosophical beliefs that set the stage for that belief system from the perspective of Buddhism, right? And Ayurveda. So from an Ayurvedic perspective, from a Buddhist perspective, there's strong foundations for these old historical belief systems that were wrapped around the conscious lifestyle towards enlightenment, right? And so that there's a tradition, a traditional voice around that. And if I'm a strong believer in the placebo effect as well. So if somebody identifies that that is a truth for themselves, then I do believe that that would be a foundational component to their path. I do not believe that is a foundational component to my path at all. I am not an exclusive carnivore. I am not exclusive vegan. I believe in eating a more of a primal approached diet, right? What did I eat as a Homo sapien back in the day? But do I do that because it's going to tether me to enlightenment? No, I do it because it triggers my genes in such a way as allows for me to experience optimized health. Now, I can let you know, for me personally, and I observe it in many around me, eating food triggers emotional responses. Sure. The lifestyle of towards enlightenment is an emotional journey, spiritual and emotional journey. I have observed the transformation of people's emotional experiences from shifting out of a carbohydrate heavy diet into a diet that is metabolically flexible, one in which their body is geared to be able to both create energy from carbohydrates as well as create energy from the fats that they store in their body, right? Our bodies forget how to eat, how to consume the fats already stored in our body because of being such a heavy carbohydrate diet. Now, I've seen Dorito and Pepsi vegans. It's vegan, right? I've also seen vegans who are eating a really healthy, well-rounded diet, but I do not feel, for me personally, that it is an essential component. I feel as if when people are able to fine-tune their body in such a way that they're able to be metabolically flexible and be able to not ride the highs and lows of a carbohydrate-rich diet. I have energy because I just ate something. Now I'm having a sugar crash because I haven't eaten something in an hour. And now that plays a toll on our emotions. That is not a path to enlightenment in my perspective. Whereas if somebody has metabolic flexibility, they eat something, they have energy. Oh, they still have energy because their body remembers how to consume the snacks they packed away on their hips. Oh, they still have energy because they just ate something. Oh, the emotional highs and lows of the carbohydrate rich diet are minimized, and you're able to be in an emotional place of stability, which to me is a path towards being able to be in a higher emotional and spiritual space. And
Yeah.
that for me, it requires a higher protein, higher fat.
Hmm.
And I love my animal proteins, my animal fats,
You
but
know,
they're
it's
sustainably sourced.
that's very interesting because growing up in the south of Europe and traveling a lot, I noticed that, especially in France, French people, they don't hold back. They eat everything under the sun, especially a lot of fatties, cheese, big juicy steaks, wine, bread, all those, bakeries. But yet they still remain very healthy and very thin. And some of the healthiest diets and the people that live the longest in the world are the ones in the Mediterranean, especially around Greece, Portugal, Spain, France, that area, Italy, and also Japan. And I started Asia, some part of Asia, because people in Asia, when I was living there, countless times I caught myself looking at someone. The person looked like 15-year-old, but they were 35 or 45. So are these guys being malnourished? No, it's because they have a proper diet. And that made me really curious. Okay, what are these guys eating? And when you note, especially the diets, the healthiest diets in Asia, Vietnam, from my experience and opinion, Vietnam and Japan, they have some of the most amazing food, yet very healthy, very light. You can pig out, but you're not gonna become fat. So I know there is a correlation between what you eat. Sorry, not just what you eat, the quality of what you eat and how you feel inside of you, your energy level and all that, but also now becoming obese. And we know that obesity is a big issue, especially in Canada and the US and some countries in Western Europe, like Germany, for example, and the UK, Australia. So yes, there's a lot of, things we can adjust, but I'm glad to know that, hey, I can still stick to my French diet with my bread. I love bread. Yeah, I can't live without bread. And yeah, and my steaks, my wine, and all that, and while still being healthy and you know, hopefully ascend in the near future. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
you're welcome. And you know what I love to do is when I'm working with my clients is if they ask a question like that, so now I'm going to answer it the way I might in a health coaching session.
Mhm,
I'll answer the question and say, what does your body say?
mhm,
What do you mean? What does my body say? Well, when you're eating in that way, your body's using its body language in order to communicate with you. Are you tired? Are you energetic? Do you have emotional highs and lows? Are you feeling emotionally stable? Are you feel so? Let's dissect. What does your body say? Because you could Google search anything and come up with all kinds of shoulds. Should I be a vegan to ascend? What does your body say? That's how I would typically answer that with my clients.
yeah, I was really surprised. Like about a month ago, one day my sister shows up at our house with a big box. And what's that? It's our meats. What do you mean? Oh, we're going vegan. See, you sure? Even Tony, husband, is going vegan. You sure about that? Oh, absolutely. We're going vegan. She basically emptied a freezer with all the meats, and we don't know what to do. We don't have any space for it. So I was completely surprised. But you know what? But hey, that's life.
Just say thank you.
Exactly. I did say thank you. Oh, and I did pig out because I was having barbecue for the next week or so. And even though I didn't have any space in the freezer because it was cold outside, we just left it on the balcony.
Hold up there. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Now listen, I love talking to you. We can be talking. I told you last time, I warned you, block 2 hours. And as I told you, I'm so glad that 11 o'clock just canceled, so we can do this without any pressure and all that. So let's move forward. Now, so you mentioned about your impact in doing. Tell me more about the structure of your program that you use to help your clients. Is it more like one-on-one, small groups,
Mhm.
big groups?
Mhm.
And how long usually is your program structured in a way? Like, for example, my program is a 3-week challenge. In 3 weeks, you'll get a specific result.
Mhm.
In your program, do you have like a time frame, like a month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, or is it more like an ongoing, lifelong journey for you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. It
You're
is
welcome.
not, it is not, it is a lifelong journey, but not attached to me. So
Exactly. Yes.
my process that I like to walk alongside with people is and it's evolving right now. So typically, up until now, I've exclusively been working with clients one-on-one, and it's typically taken between 6 and 10 sessions to be able to bring somebody through a path of shifting into metabolic flexibility, being able to reconnect to the language of their body so that they can be driven by asking their body versus asking Google. Okay, so typically that takes between 6 and 10 sessions. Well, that's actually not good enough for me. I like to empower people to be able to move as transform as quickly as possible. And I like it when we hit that 6 week mark. I just do. And the difference between the 6 week mark and the 10 week mark, what I have found is just where people are beginning with their understanding, with their awareness, because there's a lot of deeply entrenched programmings and beliefs around how to eat to be healthy and how to lose weight. And we're busting a lot of those down, right? So sometimes there can be some resistance around, oh, I know you said that, but really, I'm able to do that? So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually creating a couple of mini courses. I'm also creating a 30-day metabolism reboot program that people will be able to step into to acquire the knowledge component of what we're actually going to be walking through, so that more effective with addressing the self-talk and identifying the language of the body, because there is our body is talking to us constantly. But if we're not, if I'd like to say this, if somebody is very passionately screaming at you, but they're screaming in Russian and you don't understand Russian, you can say, wow, dude, I am sure you are completely passionate about what you're screaming about, but I can't help you.
The logical thing would be for you to yell back at them in French or German or another language. That would be beautiful.
Right. But that passionate Russian person is actually your body.
Yes.
And it's passionately screaming, saying, oh my God, you have migraines all the time. I'm trying to tell you that it's really important for you to shift this up. But we don't understand it. So we're like, oh, migraine again. Let me take a pill. Oh, I wish this wouldn't happen.
Let me stop you 1 second. Hold that thought for a moment. So would you say when we get a migraine or we get stomach, whatever, are those warning signs that our body is sending to us? Hey,
yes.
Hey girl, hey boy, watch out for this.
Absolutely. Your weight gain is a language from your body. Headaches, fatigue, brain fog, having a hard time to hold attention, skin rashes, sexual performance. These are all our body saying, I'm trying to make you as uncomfortable as possible so that you'll listen to me.
And if we don't listen, then those progress to things much more complicated, like cancer and whatnot,
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Wow. Yep. So I like to use our coaching time to be able to say, hey, wow, yay, you have migraines every day. Let's figure out what your body's trying to tell you. So that is now going to be coupled with, now let me tell you about a lot of the myths that we've been fed and how we can overcome them with newly acquired knowledge. Let's emancipate your thinking around your body. And then our coaching time can be now, let's see, what's your body telling you? Let's try to dissect that.
Beautiful. Now, how long have you been have you been involved in this business?
I have been in the business of wellness since 1999 professionally.
All right. So more than a couple of weeks. Okay, I see. Yep. So, and I'm sure you've helped a couple of people now. Share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
Yeah, I'll never forget. And all right, so this person had a lot of obstacles, financial obstacles. Like, pursuing your optimum state of wellness is a do-it-yourself, pay out-of-pocket experience. You do not walk into your doctor's office and say, hey, I'm feeling pretty good, but I would like to feel amazing. There's just no answer there, right?
Yeah.
They work on this wellness spectrum between death and injury, right? Like they try to protect you from that space, but they're not necessarily in the other space. So when you're looking to step beyond that, it's an expensive process. So this woman came to me, and she was not in optimum health. She was nowhere near it. She was not even 40 years old yet, suffering from fibromyalgia pain, excruciatingly so, joint pain, energy, inflammation, lung inflammation. So she was on steroids, just lots of inflammation and body. Her body was screaming. And she also had her pocketbook screaming, right? She'd been spending so much money on so many paths of treatment that we all learn about and many people explore, right? And it was to the point where in order to go do the laundry, she needed to use a cane, and she wasn't even 40 years old yet. And so the first thing we needed to do was reactivate her body's genes so that her body could produce its own antioxidant enzymes at a powerful level, because our body can do that. We talk a lot about, hey, it's healthy to take antioxidants. Well, that's fine, except for making your own antioxidants by flipping on your genes is a million times more powerful. So let's just do that. So I gave her one little yellow pill, and this little yellow pill is made up with a small dosage. So it's not even a therapeutic dosage of turmeric, milk thistle, ashwagandha, bacopa, green tea. So it's just a tiny little yellow pill. And it was less than $50, and it would last the whole entire month, right? So I was like, okay, take this pill every day with breakfast, and let's just kickstart, reboot your genes from the inside out. Let's get the body churning. Get your body as your partner, right? We need your body on your side. And so I'll never forget, I got a message from her no more than 4 weeks later. And she said, Kim, you'll never believe what I'm doing. I'm like, you're right. I don't even know what you're doing. She said, I'm ice skating. Wow. And I did my laundry today, and my lungs are feeling better. What the heck just happened?
What did you give me?
Yeah. And all we did was we activated her genetic possibility to awaken her genes programming to allow for her to thrive. Now, there were way more other things that we did after that, from a dietary standpoint, from a lifestyle standpoint. But the power of being able to, she felt like she was battling against her body. My body is breaking down. My body is broken. And then was able to shift that and be able to experience the gifts that her body wants to partner with her around, right? And so it becomes a partnership. And then we were able to start listening to what else was happening and chasing down the language of her body. And she made beautiful transformation. But of course, everybody, I love when a fast transformation happens. And that was a beautiful one.
Totally. Wow. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Now, and that's a great segue. Let's talk about impact. This is the theme of this podcast, impact and cause. What would you say for you, Kim, is a cause that you're deeply passionate about?
It really is like I said, I'm a very boring person. I'm very single-minded. A cause that I'm really passionate about is emancipating people from the idea. So I'm going to tell you a story. We are groomed from a very early age to believe that in order to be healthy, we need to look outside of ourselves.
Bingo.
Okay. Like let's say we're 5 years old. We have something really scary and painful, strep throat. Everybody, have you had strep throat before?
Mm-hmm.
very painful, right? Swallowing your ice cream even is like so much. And it's going on for a couple of days. Your parents are checking your they've got a handle on it. These parents that are like your almighty caregivers, they're confident. They got this for the first 3 days. Then after that, they get nervous. And as a child, you're internalizing that, saying, whoa, my parents are nervous. This must be really big. And they take you to this place with fluorescent lights and lab coats. You sit on this table. This doctor has a magical device that he puts coldly on your back. And he's magically able to like listen to your body. He's able to listen to your body. And he's able to identify and scribble something on a piece of paper
Can't even read.
that you then that you take to the doctor's office, that you take to the pharmacy, and 24 hours later you're feeling better. Well, we're taught that at a very young age, we're groomed to believe that the magic is outside of us. Now, what that doctor didn't tell us is, now here's your choice. We can give you this antibiotic, and what it's going to do is it's going to get rid of this bad bacteria. It's also going to kill a lot of your good bacteria. So you'll feel better in 24 hours, but the consequence is that your microbiome is going to be disrupted potentially for a decade. Okay. It may have consequences like digestive disruption, immune system disruption. It may actually turn into a cascade of your having an illness not that long from now. Or you could go home. This isn't super dangerous. Your body has this. Let's keep your fever high because that's what's going to kill the bacteria. Let's stop giving you your Tylenol and your aspirin that's going to lower your fever, because the fever is actually your ally. Go home, fast for a few days, kick on that autophagy. It's not going to kill you. And if after a few more days you feel like, we don't want it to turn to scarlet fever by any means, but you're not in that danger zone yet, go home. Let's see what your body can do. I've never been given that choice. Were you?
No, you're right. Yeah.
So I am passionate about freeing people from what we've been groomed to believe is that we can industrialize biology and we are not powerful. It, excuse my language, pisses me off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of my pet peeves as well, because, just like you said perfectly, we're groomed to always look for outside, leadership. Sure, there is a place for that, but ultimately at the soul level, we all have all the answers. We need to look inside within us. And that's one of the things that you learn once you get into spirituality, that, hey, yes, it's good to seek outside, guidance and whatever, but ultimately you have all the answers stored within you, inside your subconscious mind, inside your body. What is our body? Our body is the greatest library in history. It contains our DNA contains all the information, not just in this lifetime, but hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of past lives. So in that way, just a matter of just like you go in an old, library, just find the right file, the right cabinet, just accessing it. And then, yeah, so no, we have all the information within, absolutely. And that's one of the major breakthroughs I've had as well for the past year and a half, 2 years, is that, hey, yes, there's a time for seeking outside expertise. Sure.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's all within. Just like the saying says, happiness is an internal job. You don't need someone else to make you happy. You don't need to have your perfect man or perfect woman to make you happy. Everything is within you. So in the moment you not only understand, but accept that, embrace it, not fight it, then that's when your life changes. You get a fully understanding of how things really work, because we're not taught that in schools. Nobody tells us that. And I wish, that would be one of the things that we talked about, revamping the entire education system. Let me tell you, I would completely destroy it and build it from scratch if I were up to me. But this is not about this conversation. So that's amazing. Wow. Listen, Kim, love talking to you. I told you we'd go for 2 hours. We're almost reaching an hour and a half, but let's start wrapping things up. We will definitely do a part 2 in a few weeks. So to finish off, let me ask you some questions about advices. Ready?
Okay.
Rapid fire questions on advices. So what would you say so far has been the best, greatest piece of advice you've received?
Mm. The one that comes to mind, rapid fire, is when I first gave birth to my son. An elder woman in my community came up to me and she said, just go ahead and set money aside for their psychology fund and let yourself be imperfect and screw up.
What do they mean psychology fun?
Meaning they're going to have baggage when they hit their 20s.
Okay.
You cannot protect them through being a perfect mom.
Mm,
Let yourself be authentically you in your momhood. There's no amount of perfection that you can protect them from. Life's going to be messy. Put some money aside and just set it aside so that when they need help
yes, yes.
for their perception of what happened, that just be in your truth, that you did the best that you could with
Wow,
what you were
love that.
provided, and allow for the imperfect nature of your parenting experience to be supported by knowing they're going to need some self-care at the other end.
Yeah, that's what I love about this podcast, learning about things I didn't know even existed. First time I hear about psychology funds, that's why I say, what do you mean by that?
She just made it up.
No, that's fun. That's fun. I love that. That's fun. Now, what would you say has been so far the worst piece of advice you received other than get a job?
Go to college.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we told my son, and my son, like I said, is very, very intelligent. And we told him, think about college like a business decision.
It is.
Is your return on investment going to be worth your while? If not, don't do it for your ego or
The pressure,
the pressure, the marching to the drum. This is a business
an
decision.
expensive
If you,
one.
and an expensive one. So don't feel pressured from us or society that
Yeah,
just because you're intelligent and you have purpose, that you feel like you need to go to college.
absolutely. That's what I tell all the young people I know in my life, my cousins and all that. I tell them, listen, college makes sense if you're dead set on either becoming a doctor, lawyer, or the financial service, somewhere, something you need actual credentials. But if you're not sure, if you just want to find yourself or get moved from, major to major and end up with the useless degree in say basket weaving, forget it. Might as well get either a blue collar trade, even better. Let's say I don't know about the US, but in Canada and Toronto, like a year of college costs about $20,000, $30,000, and that's Canadian dollars. That's expensive.
Mm.
Take half of that. Go learn a high income skill. Go travel. Go start your own business. Go start an e-commerce business, an online business. You will have the time of your life. You will explore the world. And worst comes to worst, you will learn about the world, about yourself, and you will build incredible skill. Like me, when I hire someone, and I'm sure other people feel the same way, I don't look much at the resume. I look at what they can do, at what they can do, their experiences. I would hire, and I'm sure and even Elon Musk says he doesn't care about where the person just graduated from. Just give them a task. Okay, show me how you can do what you can do. And those what you can do, you learn it on the job. They don't teach you that in schools. So take half of that, $15,000, $20,000. Go have a ball. Go travel around the world. Go backpack for a year, whatever, while starting a business. Go live in a place like in Asia where you can bootstrap your business for $1,000 a month. Surround yourself with entrepreneurs. Learn a skill. Worst comes to worst, you'll have the time of your life and learn a skill that will make you much more employable, attractive to schools and all that. But what if that works? Then that will change your life. You will not need that college.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yet again, another point that we have in common.
Yeah, one of my cousins, way back in 2014, I want a change of direction. I went into the oil fields in Western Canada, in Alberta, working with rednecks at -40 and all that. I loved it, and that I wish someone had told me that college is not the only path in life. Go take a blue trade collar. And I had a chat with my cousin back in 2014, was about to finish high school. I told him, listen, do you want to become a lawyer, doctor, or financial advisor, something you need actual credential? He says, no. I said, okay, forget about college. Go take a trade. Long story short, he's 25. He's making six figures. He bought his first condo, cash. And every time he sees me, almost he wants to kiss my hand. I said, don't kiss my hand. Kiss your own hand, because it's one thing to receive the advice, but you put it to use. You executed on it. And I wish someone had told me that when I was his age, because especially in some backgrounds, some communities, you need to go to college, you need to become a doctor, lawyer, something, respectable. But there's other paths in life.
I agree.
So yeah, wow, amazing. Now, imagine that you are blessed with a time machine and you can go back in time and meet with the 18-year-old Kim. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to her, knowing all that you know now?
Mm. Interesting. 18-year-old Kim, I think, because I'm not a big person on like change the past and like regrets, but I think what I would tell her is um be it's okay to be alone.
Yes.
That I think it's a time in life where it can be a little crazy making to go against, in my case anyways, it was against my grain to spend so much time with other people, but it was social survival, right? So I think I would tell my 18-year-old Kim that it's really okay to prioritize alone time more.
Absolutely. A long time is the best time because you can really get in touch with yourself, with your soul. Absolutely. I mean, we can talk about that because that's a big subject because society and all that does. I mean, our cell phone, our computer, we're always constantly surrounded and bombarded by things that's going to make it very hard for us to have that me moment. Just disconnect with everything. One of my friends and one of my students in my podcasting academy for 1 week, she did one of those retreats, completely disconnected, no cell phone, no nothing. You don't even speak to people, just in a cabin in the nature, just for a week in your thoughts. They just come knock on your door, bring you food 3 times in the day, don't speak to you. That can be scary, but that's going to be one of the most beautiful things you can do for yourself.
I agree. I agree. In fact, when we were planning on going to Japan, we already had prepaid for a 16-day quarantine period because when we landed, we would be whisked off to a hotel in 16 days in a hotel room with them bringing us
Mhm.
bento boxes 3 times
Yeah,
a
yeah,
day. Would
yeah.
have been great. And my husband and I would have been in separate hotel rooms as well. It's just the way that it
Oh,
was set up.
wow.
So I was picturing, oh my gosh, this is going to be a silent retreat. This is going to be the best opportunity for a silent retreat. Get bento boxes 3 times a day, do some yoga, like
Write a
not
book. Finally
write a
write a book.
book,
Yeah.
right? Exactly. Like no technology. I was just going to like turn it all off. So I was a little bit disappointed,
Yeah.
weirdly enough, to not have to go into quarantine for 16 days.
That's almost surreal. All right. Now, you have your own podcast.
Not yet, but I'm going to start one.
Beautiful. All right. Now, imagine that you have your podcast, and today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, yourself. You're interviewing yourself. So,
Whoa.
what is the first question that you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind?
Wow. Weirdly enough, the question that came to to my mind is um, why did you decide to come down to planet Earth again?
Ooh, I love that. And what's your answer?
Uh, honestly, I think my husband came down and I high-fived him and said I would come down with him one more time. But I have been known to say this is my last time.
Last dance. There's always a last dance.
This is the last dance. Yep.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Wonderful. Now, my favorite question to ask you, and that's the last question I'll ask you. What's the smallest thing you've done that has had the greatest positive impact in both your life and your business? And by small, I don't mean something small. I mean the one thing. Like for me, it's been starting my podcast. What about you? Something that you've done that has had the greatest positive impact in both your life and business?
Okay. Wow. The one thing that I have done that is like starting something or doing
Anything, a
something.
direction, anything you did, something that might seem small, but it's not small, but it can be completely life changing, life altering for the better.
Yeah, allowing me it's a psychological thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's giving myself the freedom to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that many times we might create a career and kind of pour it in concrete
Mm-hmm.
and say, this is me, this is my brand, this is who I am, this is what I do. And then it's so solid. I've always allowed myself to be really fluid. Um, so I think giving myself the grace to say, not that that was wrong what I did, but there was a season. It's my favorite thing that I say, that I had that season and that season expired, and now I'm in a new season.
Beautiful put.
So I think giving myself the freedom to identify that life is fluid.
Oh,
And
wow,
if
love
I
that.
try to fight that seasonal flux and flow, then it would just crush my soul.
Absolutely, that's very well put. Love that. Listen, Kim, love talking to you. Now, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, they can certainly email me, Kim at kimjakes.com. Jakes, not Jacques, although it should
I
be
was about to
Jacques.
ask you because I'm very French. Jack.
Right, we're Franco-American, where all things French turn into something
Okay.
chopped up.
Beautiful.
So Kim at kimjakes.com is my email. They're more than welcome to personally connect with me if they would like a little more distance from that. I am on Facebook, I am on Instagram, I am on LinkedIn. I am also, depending on when you're listening to this, my website should be live within the next 4 weeks or so. So, and that itself will just be kimjakes.com,
All right.
KIMJACQUES.com. So
And
I'm really open to people
and your
just
and
reaching out and saying,
and
hey,
your handles on social media is just your name.
Kim Jakes.
Okay, I'll put that in the show notes. Awesome. Listen, Kim, absolute pleasure, honor, pure blast talking to you. We can do that for hours and hours. There's so many more things we haven't even unpacked, like why Japan. I love Japan. You know, I've been blessed. I've traveled a lot, but no place blew my mind like Japan. But that might be a part two in the very near future. So many other things like you experience in St. Catharines, for example, because St. Catherine is just in my backyard in Toronto here, you know, on the way to Niagara Falls and all that. So there's so much more, I'm sure, and we'll definitely do a part two in the very near future. But listen, absolute honor. I love you, what you're doing, your passion, your contagious, you know, smile and happiness. You have a beautiful mission, message. As I keep telling, you know, we all go through our fair share of hard times in life, and those are there for us to you know to become to overcome, so that we can become the person we're meant to be. And then that becomes part of our story. We all have a story, and then that story becomes our gift, and that gift then becomes our responsibility to share it with the world. Because one of my understandings of why we are here is to accumulate lessons, and those lessons then share them with the world, because that's what, as far as I'm concerned, from my modest understanding, is what we're here for. And you've been blessed to have a rich life in terms of experiences, lessons. You have quite a few beautiful gifts to share. So I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, your smile, your work, your impact, and all that. Your business. And stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you, my friend. We'll definitely gonna be having a conversation very soon again. Take care.
Thank you so much, my friend.
You're welcome. Bye bye.